What would be most useful for you in this conversation and discussing it?
So my pre-law advisor's seen it before, and she's given me feedback that it's very academic. And I understand why she says that, but not really how to go about changing it to make it less academic, because A, it is specifically about the topic of law, and B, because it's so, the topic is so formal. And so that seems to be a barrier that I either have to give up my topic entirely or figure out how to unacademic it. And that I haven't quite figured out how to change it to make it less of that.
Yeah, well, I thought the writing was fantastic. It definitely indicates that you have a good command of language and that you would make an outstanding law student just based on your vocabulary and your experience in the process. Yeah. Now, what I was most curious about and what's missing for me here, first off, is yes, I agree, personal. And specifically, why were you even bringing a case? I think I didn't catch the actual details of the topic. What brought you there?
It's a little subtle. So I did mention Garcetti, which is in the, I think, third paragraph. And of course, my character and fitness, will have to discuss it more in detail because that's a required component of most law schools in the area because it's in the New York bar. But it's a First Amendment case. So it's about whether or not I had free speech rights in the course of a fellowship that I had in 2013.
Understood. Okay, so you might want to share a little more in terms of the details around that, just to make it come to life a little bit more. I understand the need for discretion if there are certain things you don't want to disclose. That's obviously your right and your prerogative. But I think without getting any sense of what's really involved other than free speech, it lacks a certain degree of emotion to it. The only emotion I'm getting here is that you're nervous going before a judge. You're nervous in comparison to more experienced litigators. But there's still that big looming why. And if you're not going to address the details more specifically, I would at least allude to that. So they're not thinking, oh, did we miss it? Because your personal statement isn't the easiest to skim because of the complex vocabulary and because of the nature of the topic. And so they're not going to know, did I miss it? Was it not clear? And so I think if you're not going to address it, just at least state directly that you're not going to and why, or allude at the outset to this is a free speech case based on the context of the internship or the program or whatever it was.
Okay. And then the other thing I guess that I was looking at was, for example, the second to last paragraph doesn't specifically deal with me at all. It's talking about the observations I made in sort of preparation. And I was thinking if it was something where I should just completely eliminate anything that doesn't specifically talk about me, since it is supposed to be, quote, a personal statement, end quote, or if I should try and make connections between the things I had already learned about that made me prepared to be that kind of observer, like a women and gender studies in the law class that I had taken, even if that is a bit far back academically for me, to sort of tie it back to me, like constantly referring to me, like, or is that too selfish?
I get what you mean. Of course, you do want to keep it personal. I also wouldn't want you to reach in order to make that connection. This statement is a little bit longer than I would recommend. I think
pages.
But is that what kind of spacing are you using here? That looks like less. Maybe it's 1.5 lines rather than two double spaced.
I can double check that, but I'm pretty sure it was double spaced.
Okay, if it is double spaced, then your length is fine. To me, it looked a little bit less than that. It looked like it might be 1.75 or 1.5. And believe me, that the admission officers are they're reading tons of these, so they don't need to check. Double spaced stands out in a way that 1.5 would be very apparent. Okay. And to me, just based on my naked eye looking at this, it looks like less than double spaced.
So then I should just eliminate that paragraph maybe?
That might be the most simple solution, the most elegant one there. And then everything is personal in nature, of course.
Well, the second paragraph of talking about like the kinds of things that pro se's have already as resources, like the changes in standards and the pro se projects, is a little also outside of the scope of like personal. Again, I could bring that to like my job. I learned about the standard for small claims court because I was working at a CLE program where that was one of their topics, or the NILAG project, which I learned about afterwards because I had an incident where a police officer told me I wasn't allowed to film in public, and I had to learn about that really fast. So there is ways to connect each of these things, but as I communicate them to you to make them less academic, obviously that adds more length to that essay that you're already saying is really dense. So that's a concern for me, obviously.
I wouldn't want you to bring up other cases or other events that you've had, or like the filming in public, for example. That's not directly tied to the topic here. And I think appearing pro se is more than enough substance for one personal statement. You don't need to go beyond that. Now, this second paragraph here, a lot of it is not personal. You're describing the nature of the problem and why it's important to you, which I think is nice. I would just look to condense that more. I don't think you have to eliminate that paragraph entirely.
To make it less academic. Okay, so condense paragraph. Okay, any other tips to making it less academic?
I think your command of vocabulary is great, and you can certainly indicate that, but I would look to also simplify at least some of those vocabulary choices wherever possible, because it does, in a way, get in the way of reading it. You want to indicate your command of language. The personal statement will do that, even if you cut out half of the 3-syllable vocabulary words, and your writing sample will also do the same.
Your
writing sample, have you done it yet?
No, I haven't. I've been pushing it off because the LSAT that I took, the July LSAT, I canceled it, so I didn't need to do it for that. So I'm procrastinating.
Well, whenever you do it, trust that will be another opportunity to display your command of vocabulary, and because these are typed with the digital writing, it's more likely to actually be read. And so they will have the chance to see it there as well as in any other statements you submit.
Okay, cool. Okay, any other tips?
That's pretty much it. I think you've got some work to do, but you also have the makings of a great personal statement. So I'm excited to see where you take this.
Okay, but not total topic change, which was...
No, definitely not. I think the topic is fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. So before we sign off, Emily, what would you say is the biggest insight you got from our call today?
Be simple. I think I got that lesson in the courts for brevity's sake, but sometimes be simple also means like keep it simple. Like admissions officers have 100+ essays to read. I don't want to be the one that they have to slug through or like reread because they didn't get it the first time. You want to be the first impression that's really positive. So I think that's a lesson I need to solidify a little better.
Awesome. Well, I have no doubt you'll make it happen. Just keep it up and let me know how it turns out, if I can help in any way. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.